Welcome Pisces to your Aries New Moon 1 month deep dive video for the ascendant, the sun or the moon. Each lunation has its own unique identity. We can talk about new moons generally as a time of setting our intentions, the host Aries about being passionate or showing initiative. But I'm going to share with you Pisces the exact moment of the new moon on screen with your personal Pisces perspective. By the end of the video, you'll have a clearer understanding of what the next 4 weeks holds in terms of energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen is your event chart. And there's the sun and the moon. They come together in an exact conjunction every 28 days. We could say it is like a moon cazimi. The radiance of the sun, exalted, loves to be in Aries, bringing warmth to the moon, which, the moon in Aries is perhaps not quite so good, but for you it's the second house, which does have a flavor of the moon's role in Taurus, where it does like to be. It's very much about an appreciation of those very steady, sensual, and earthly pleasures. But of course, the sign of Aries is about that initiation. And for you, this gathering of players in the sign of Aries, which is so rare. Neptune back in Aries briefly last year for 6 months for the first time in about 149. Saturn back from the middle of February, apart from those 3 months last year, about 28 years, coming into a conjunction with Mars and Saturn the 19th of April for the first time in about 28 years. And we also have the mystical Neptune in a link with Mercury, now out of your zodiac sign, where it did have those 10 weeks until very recently. So that's extremely rare, but Chiron in the mix is what really intrigues me. So Chiron in Aries has been in the sign full time since February 2019. And in Aries, it's very much about identity. And the second house for you can be about how you value yourself, your self-worth, but it can also be about money. And where Chiron comes into the mix in this new moon, if you have got any kind of sense that your value is less than it may be, it's an opportunity to work on that. But of course, that will be to do with past experiences, what people said, uh, issues that you've confronted in your life, maybe poverty, maybe sudden losses, maybe your world hasn't always had that secure foundation. And that is something that can come up, not necessarily in a physical way, but more the metaphor of it, the memory could come up over the next month. But it's also a chance to release. But I always say with Chiron, Chiron is a superpower as much as something that may be our tender point. And also, you may not have Chiron in Aries. A lot of people do. It's got an unusual elliptic, so it spends more time in Aries than anywhere else. But if you don't have it there and you don't have it in the second house, what you are experiencing through this particular event is how it feels collectively. So if you don't feel that your financial situation is as strong and stable as it could be, and it does make you feel less of a whole person, that's where Chiron can be active. But also, it could be that you're very good at supporting other people, giving them tips and advice on how to manage their resources, or most of all, encouraging them how to feel good about themselves. And that's where that very healing energy of Chiron can be so positive. Now, Chiron last was in a conjunction on an Aries new moon 4 years ago, but it isn't going to be in one for another 50 years. It's going to be leaving full time next April. It does actually move into Taurus in the middle of June for 4 months, but then we'll go back into Taurus next April for the longer term. And that will bring a different set of healing options and potentials. But over this next month, what can you expect in particular. Well, having Saturn in the second house is also very influential. It's going to be there for the next 2 years. Saturn here can bring some changes to our earnings. It just seems to work that way. Uh, but also, it can bring your resourcefulness and tenacity and ability to deal with challenges very much into focus, particularly towards the end of this week on the 19th when Mars and Saturn are together. Now, a lot of athletes have Mars and Saturn in a conjunction because it's about endurance. If we think the drive and thrust of Saturn is held back in a way by the resistance, the restriction of Saturn, but that does create a lot of fierce, determined application. So you're not going to be overwhelmed by this new moon. You can be enabled by it, but it could show up a situation that's changing. And we all know the world is changing fast anyway. But Neptune, your modern aquatic ruler, is in a conjunction with Mercury, which has just exited your sign. So if you are a very imaginative and artistic person, as Pisces often are, don't underestimate how that could help you to develop a sideline that could be very influential. Also, if we look at the wider chart, as I have been saying to you quite a lot recently, your past knowledge, experiences, and skills, Pluto in the 12th, linking in a phenomenally powerful link to Pluto in the second. It's exact. And your drive and determination to make the most of that backstory, of that back catalogue, of all the things you know and have accumulated can really be very potently helpful through this event. Now, what about your other ruler, Jupiter? Jupiter is your traditional ruler and continues his beautiful journey, this latter part of his journey through Cancer, where it's exalted through to the end of June. If you've joined me before, you'll know that when Jupiter arrived in Cancer, it didn't have an easy time. Saturn squared off to it straight away. It then was not really on good form until the latter part of the year. Then we had the retrograde. But on this event, Venus, which is exalted in your sign, in a beautiful link with Jupiter. Don't underestimate how your words, charm, but also just grace can have an impact on people you experience. If you do like someone romantically, that's a fabulous sextile there, but that can prove very lucky. The fifth house can be about speculation. The second house, particularly with Saturn in the house, literally, is asking you to be maybe a little bit more on the cautious side with resources. But also we know that Pluto is helping you to dig deep, to quarry out from your past and use that, perhaps reutilize old skills and experiences in a fresh way in the here and now. So to summarize, new moons are an opportunity to set our intentions. If you have been thinking about making some changes to your diet, the second house can be where we find it very hard to resist the yummy stuff, the calorific goodies, the wine, or maybe we can be a bit more indulgent with that bar of chocolate. We may be a bit more reluctant to do something that's quick, fast, and vigorous, even though we are in the sign of Aries, which appreciates that kind of energy. So it may be that you have to push yourself a little bit to be active over the next month. But if you're wanting to set up some new ways of bringing income in or valuing yourself for who you innately are, if we're all standing naked with the rain pouring down on our heads, we took away all these material benefits that are part of modern life, we're all absolutely at zero, aren't we? And that's really where the life story began for person kind, living very near to the ground, which is the second house. So if you feel you're up against it, just know that that is something that other people will be experiencing. And even though it obviously does feel massively personal, just know it doesn't define you. It could be a passage, but it could be a passage to something so much better. And the two planets of fortune around your thinking, your ideas, your mode of communication, but also just how you come across to others is magnified in the most beautiful of ways at the present time. You've also got the ace in the pack. If you like the Ace of Cups in the tarot, that you've got the North Node in your zodiac sign, the true North Node, through to the end of July. That's very much about trusting your instincts. Whatever it is, trust your instincts. Now, I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finance next, Pisces. But I've reduced the price of the personal horoscope report so you can buy one and get three, so two, three. Why have I done that? I think that people are feeling the pinch, but also I want to share the more technical astrology with as many people as possible because if you can know what your birth data has brought you in your life journey, but get a much closer relationship with that, you can then steer your future much better. You get the transit forecast free and also the Draconic Life Soul analysis. That's also free. Please see the link below for more. Now, if you've yet to watch your Uranus 84-year cycle deep dive video, please see that on the screen. Your monthly forecast for April on the screen. If you've already watched them, thank you so much. If you'd like to work with me personally, please see my testimonials below. If you have yet to sign up for your free daily horoscope, fire to your device each morning for your celestial pit stop, please see that below. You can read for your ascendant, your moon, your mum, your dad, your ex, your future partner, whoever you want. Now, just to summarize, when it comes to romance, if you're aligned to someone, it's very old-fashioned, who has very similar values to you, this can be a very strong new moon for you, and it could bring you closer together. If you're trying to build or rebuild something in terms of income, it may feel like it's a transitional phase, and I really respect and understand that. We know that Aries is about beginnings, the beginning of the zodiac, but if you, it doesn't necessarily work that way. It's more about what you had been working on through Pisces season, which this year was very strong because of the stellium, and you can convert some of that talent into something more tangible. But it could be that it's a little complex. There may be something new that springs, shoots up afresh. There may be something else that perhaps declining a little bit, but it doesn't mean to say it can't improve in the long term. But with Chiron, it's very much more about how you value yourself. If you are aware that you think yourself down, this is a great opportunity to rethink that thinking. We are what we think. And remember, past skills, experiences, whether it's in terms of handling life, people, romance, or work, they're very strong for you because you are the sign of culmination, a spiritual culmination of the entire zodiac. But if you're thinking about your core energy, I think the main thing is to try and keep the old sugar intake a little bit lower if you can, because I think it may more acutely drain you over the next few weeks. All the best, Pisces. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care and goodbye.